Hi everyone, welcome back to the garden. I don't know about you, but my garden here is looking a bit of a mess right now. It's early March, there's dead leaves to be removed, weeds to be taken out, a lot of new planting to go in, exciting projects ahead. But if there's one group of plants which still looks fantastic, despite the miserable wet winter we're just coming out of, it's the hardy palms. Yes, these exotic beauties in my garden, they're tough, they're evergreen, and they really provide an essential part of the structure. They make my garden my garden. And the good news for a lot of us exotic plant growers here in the UK is there's a new fertiliser available. Yes, look at this. Palm Pro, a new product on the market. Brought to the market by Nigel Kembry of Hardy Palms. I've tagged this video as a sponsored video because Nigel actually sent me this free of charge. However, I'm not paid to make the video, share any opinions, and I won't be sending the video to Nigel before it goes live, so watch out, Nigel. I should also say I was going to buy this with my own money next month anyway, so joke's on you, Nigel. But in today's video, I want to talk about why this feed, as well as many others that I spoke about in the past, are great for helping your palms, particularly here in the UK, where the growing season can be preciously short. Feeds like this are perfect for helping revive a sickly palm, helping a palm recover from winter damage, and also fantastic for potted palms. So in today's video, I want to briefly discuss this product, how to use it, as well as a few key questions when it comes to hardy palm care here in the UK. So let's get started. My garden here then, as I'm sure many of you will know, is a mixture of exotic, tropical style jungle planting, featuring rare and unusual plants like cold hardy palms from all around the world, growing right here in North Lincolnshire. Yes, over the years, I've made lots of videos sharing my garden projects, progress, visits to other exciting, unusual gardens, as well as plant care guides to help people like you get the most out of your exotic plants through our often challenging UK climate. One of the most popular groups of those videos has to be about feeds and fertilisers. And there's often, we'll say, two main groups of feeds I use here in the garden. The first group are more slow release feeds, general feeds like Vitax 6X, chicken manure pellets that I apply liberally around a lot of the big lush leafy planting. I have also in the past used a lot of specific palm feeds. The main one in particular has to be Palm Focus. It's a very balanced feed pointed towards palms with added magnesium, everything that your palm needs to grow healthily. Well, Palm Pro essentially gives everything that Palm Focus does with extra magnesium, a couple of other special ingredients, and it also has the benefit of being significantly cheaper as well. So this is something I'll definitely be using to look after those special plants in my garden going forwards. Palms particularly like the Jubaea chilensis behind me, one of which came from Nigel at Hardy Palms. To be fair, a lot of palms in my garden came from Nigel. I have recommended a slow release granular palm feed from Hardy Palms. I will put a link to all these products in the description below, but you'll be pleased to hear I don't make anything from them, just to clarify that. So yes, if this video seems overly enthusiastic, even by my standards, it's just because I'm excited to have the chance to help support an independent specialist here in the country. But wherever you've bought your Hardy Palms from, even, dare I say, at B&M, this feed will work brilliantly with them, particularly for potted palms. So let me tell you a bit more about why a feed like this is especially helpful. First though, let me go through the basics of how to use Palm Pro. This feed is very concentrated, which is why it's so economical. You can get it in a 1 litre tub, which is definitely more convenient if you're having to walk around with it recording a video, and even these 5 litre drums to save even more money long term. The magic comes in that you only need 2 ml for every litre of water, so this feed definitely goes a long way. With my 15 litre watering can, you basically need 30 ml of this, so it might be worth getting a large pipette so you can definitely use it at the proper ratios. By all means, chuck more in if you want. I'm sure Nigel would encourage that, but you don't need as much. And the main thing with fertilisers, particularly when it comes to feeding plants like palms, more isn't necessarily better. The right amount of the right stuff is better. But if you buy this, it definitely goes a lot further than the equivalent volume of Palm Focus. So one 5 litre drum like this would make 2,500 litres of watered down feed ready for your garden palms. So it definitely goes a long way. Now, feeds like this, I use them a lot at our old house. When I grew a lot of these palms you see before you and other smaller ones in pots. If you grow a lot of palms in pots or containers, there definitely needs a lot of watering and feeding through the growing season to keep them at the best. The products like this definitely very helpful. Now, one question you might have is, when do you start feeding the palms in your garden? And on the back of here, Nigel has very simply put, during the growing season. So I did ask that question, try to push a bit more to get a specific March to September. But Nigel's answer to that is very simply, when the palm is growing, you can feed it. So for me here in my garden, I generally start my feeding either late March, early April time, but then I finish in September to give the palms a chance to slow down a little bit before the cold weather comes. That's the critical bit. If you live somewhere warmer, more mild than here, you can obviously start feeding earlier than me. If your palms are growing under glass, then again, definitely you can start feeding earlier and maybe even stop later. But broadly speaking, this is a feed you can apply every 1 to 2 weeks through the growing season. The next question I had is how much you need to give each palm. But because this is actually mixed in with the water that you're watering them with, it's very simple. However much water you're going to give them the same amount with the feed mixed in. It's as simple as that. If you're pouring it onto the palm and it's going out the bottom, you're wasting it, so don't give them that much. But very simply, water them as you would usually. When it comes to palms in the ground though, they're not particularly heavy feeders, and Trachycarpus is well known for being a very adaptable, undemanding plant, able to cope just fine with most normal UK garden soil. But there are palms like Jubaea chilensis and others which maybe have slightly more differing requirements. They need a bit more heat to get growing. They might struggle a bit more with winter, particularly whilst they're small, and you can also have a lot more issues with the leaves. You can see here, even on this palm, which I try my best to take care of, there is some yellowing to the older leaves at least, and a bit of leaf spotting. A palm like Jubaea chilensis can typically keep its angular sculptural leaves green for around 5 or 6 years here in the UK. But if we just zoom in at this leaf here in particular, you'll see classic symptoms that it isn't getting the correct nutrition. Yellowing, premature spotting, definite signs that this palm isn't getting what it needs. And all of these can be improved with the correct nutrition. This is something where the difference between a palm-specific fertiliser and something more generic like Miracle Gro really makes a huge difference. Let's face it, a lot of these specimen palms cost a serious amount of money, even more now than when I bought mine here. So it's well worth spending a little bit on the right feed and fertiliser, treating them through that growing season and getting as much as you can out of them, surely. A fair question to ask then is, if I'm feeding a lot of the other exotic plants in my garden, an even more economical, cheap feed, maybe something like Miracle Gro or just chicken manure pellets, why wouldn't I also give them to my palms as well? And that's definitely a fair question, and I suspect a lot of my Trachycarpus in particular do get a lot of Miracle Gro and chicken manure pellets through the season. It does them no harm. But when it comes to palms in particular, more isn't always better. Yes, for monstrous plants like the gunnera, bananas, cannas, pretty much the more nitrogen they get, the better. But when it comes to palms that stay in the ground all year and need to battle off our winter cold, storms, wind, snow, frost, and everything else in between, you want the growth to be sustainable, strong, healthy, vigorous, not just pushing out floppy growth because I've had too much nitrogen. So it's important for the palm feed to be balanced, to not be ridiculously high in nitrogen and not have enough of the nutrients, trace elements they do need. So that's where specific feeds, whether Palm Focus or Palm Pro, really come in. They give the palm what it needs for strong, healthy, balanced growth, and they help keep those leaves green. Just using this fast-growing Trachycarpus Nova or Trachycarpus species New Zhang as an example, a palm like this doesn't just need to grow quickly. It doesn't want Miracle Gro chucking at it. It would have way too much nitrogen, and all that would do is simply just push out a load of floppy spears at the top. The leaves wouldn't harden off correctly, they get bashed around, battered by the wind. And when you've got palms in pots, certainly synthetic fertilizers like Miracle Gro, used for a prolonged period, can help build up salts in the soil, which makes it even harder for that palm to take up exactly what it needs. Palm-specific feed, like Palm Pro, gives the palm what it needs. Yes, it's got your NPK in it, but it also contains the nutrients that are essential to palms. Magnesium, for example, is incredibly soluble and soon washes out the soil, and it's essential for strong and healthy palm growth. So that's why there's plenty of magnesium in here. Palm Pro also contains chelated nutrition, 3 main ingredients: manganese, iron, and copper. Those are the 3 chelated nutrients that all work together combined with the magnesium and potassium at the right levels to help improve the vigor, the color, and the health of leaves like this one here. You don't want yellow spotting, you don't want browning. You want a palm that looks strong, healthy, green, and vigorous, not just from a distance, but close up. So there's definite benefits for using a specific feed rather than just chucking a load of nutrients at your palm and hoping that'll solve the problem. And if you look through here, you'll see something that Trachycarpus are notorious for here in the UK, yellow leaves. This yellowing is very simply because the soil is too cold for the uptake of nutrients. Therefore, the new growth is yellow, not green. Don't worry, your palm will recover from it, but a feed like Palm Pro, which contains those chelated nutrients, the palm can take those up a lot quicker. They're more readily accessible. So hopefully your palm will green up nice and quickly with that first burst of sun. You'll get more growth out of it, extend the season, and outgrow any damage. So it really is essential for palms like this. This row in particular, I've got to say, I haven't fed a lot over the years, so I might change that this summer. You can also use Palm Pro as a foliar feed, sprayed lightly onto the leaves. Again, I would limit it to weekly throughout the growing season, but it's great to know there's another method that might help get more of the magnesium and goodness into those leaves. It really is all about strong, healthy green growth when it comes to palms. So maybe foliar feeding is another way you can experiment, particularly with smaller plants if you're growing them in a polytunnel greenhouse, or even those exciting, unusual houseplants within your home. For palms in pots or containers then, just keep watering as usual, except with Palm Pro added. But when it comes to these majestic, unusual, special specimens in my garden here, particularly the Jubaea hybrid palm on the left there, and then my Jubaea chilensis Chilean wine palms, I would be tempted every week during the hottest months to give them, we'll say, a couple of watering cans each. And that way you'll get as much growth as possible out of them without overfeeding them. I am definitely happy with the growth of some of the more unusual and impressive palms and yuccas in my garden, despite the more recent neglect for some reason. But those there, they are growing magnificently. But for those very special palms in your garden, it's really reassuring to know that someone like Nigel has put together the best feed he can, and that is what I'll be giving them. But for some which have, we'll say, suffered a bit more with the neglect, taken winter damage, it really is even more essential. So whether your palm has got yellowing older leaves, whether it's got brave new growth fighting against the elements, or whether it simply is a prize specimen that you want to do the best for, having a feed that's specifically tailored to palms, it really is the way forward. At this point, I'm keenly aware it's starting to sound like the shopping channel, but I can absolutely assure you that despite cuddling up to this container, I make no commission from the link in the description. I'm just happy to provide you UK growers of exotic and unusual plants with the right products, and also help support one of the main specialist growers of hardy palms in the country who's helped put this product together. NPK wise, Palm Pro is 939, and the idea is it's a balanced feed to provide strong, healthy, sustainable growth for palms and yuccas. And then it's also got humates and fulvates added, which essentially are soil improvers. Definitely important if you grow palms in pots or containers to help provide the best environment for long-term growth. So really, I think this product is something that I'll be using here for years to come. And I can say that before I even touched it, not because I'm getting paid loads to do so, but because I can clearly see in black and white, it gives my palms what it needs, and it's been put together by someone who knows exactly how to look after them. So there we go then, a new product available, a quick little video talking about it. But before I worry about feeding any of my palms here, it's time to begin tidying things up, doing a bit of weeding, and then getting some new plants into the ground. Thank you very much for watching. This has just been a brief little video, but feel free to leave any comments or questions in the section below. And if there's anything palm specific, I will go back to Nigel and get an answer for you. This group of plants really does make my garden feel exotic, tropical, jungly, and beautiful, even in the depths of winter. So it's great to know that there's something I can give them through those summer months to get them growing as big, strong, and as tall as possible. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Thank you very much. See you later.